Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Where Work Meets Life. I'm Dr. Laura, and I'm here today with you to talk about how to avoid working for a toxic boss before accepting the job. And this topic has come up numerous times in conversations I've had. When people find out about my research on toxic bosses, they ask me how they could have avoided it, and they never want to go through that again. So what advice do I have so that people avoid accepting a job from a toxic boss, whether that is an internal promotion or a move within your organization where you could potentially be reporting to a toxic boss, or accepting a job offer for an employer that you haven't worked for before, and you want to be sure that you are not inadvertently jumping into working for a toxic boss. So, first of all, I want to say that toxic bosses are more prevalent than we think. A 2023 survey found that 87% of professionals have had at least one toxic boss during their careers, and another 30% have had two. So if you can believe that, they are out there and they are widespread, and there are, in fact, warning signs, and that's what today's episode is about. Another 24% of people are working for the worst boss they've ever had, and that is really hard. So again, if I can help educate you on doing your due diligence so that you can avoid this situation as much as possible, then I've done my job. So, first of all, I want you to think about yourself as an investigator. So, when you are deciding whether to take a job offer, either internally or externally, you are investigating the signs of whether this is a fit for you. And one of those signs is what your boss will be like, because we know that the boss is one of the top reasons people leave a job, and it can make or break your joy, your success, your health, and your productivity. So, what I always say is ask people who have worked there before or are currently working there. And this can be connections through LinkedIn, and you should always be keeping up with your LinkedIn. If you're not on your LinkedIn regularly, adding people you meet through work, people you meet through events, through education, through conferences, LinkedIn will grow and grow and grow. And then when you need it, you're more likely to find the person you need to ask the question to. So, you are considering a job at ABC Corporation, and you are asking, what is it like to work for this boss? We'll call this boss Laura. I'll use my name. So, what is Laura like to work with? So, you can ask that directly. What is Laura like as a boss? What are her best features as a boss, and what are her challenges? Or you can ask it in some different ways. You can ask, people about turnover. So I'm looking at this job and I'll be reporting to Laura. Has she had many people leave before? Or has she had people go on medical leaves? Those sorts of questions are hints about what it's potentially like to work with Laura. And I say that a toxic hotspot is where the boss has had a lot of people leaving, and good people leaving. People have self-selected out, left working for the organization, and it is a constant, steady thing. So if you find out that lots of people have left, or there's been people coming and going like a hamster wheel, that is a bad sign that this is not the type of boss that you want to be working for. And keep in mind, though, that oftentimes they're good at making the excuses. Well, I've lost a lot of people because of the economy, or because such and such, or they went on to do other things because they weren't a fit, or they'll put it on to the other people. But again, it can be a warning sign for you to take note of. Also, you can ask people who currently work for the boss or have before about the 3 C's. What's communication like in the team? What's collaboration like? And what's the culture like of the team and of the organization? So think of those 3 C's and be asking people about them. And sometimes it's not what they say, it's what they don't say. So if they're giving very basic answers or not answering, and they're saying things like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, or yeah, we get a lot done. I learned a lot. It was busy. Or are they saying things like, gosh, I really miss that team. It was a fantastic team to work for. The reason I left was because of this other opportunity that advanced my career, but I have nothing but good things to say about that boss, Laura, and her team. It was great communication. It was a culture that was healthy and fun and invigorating, and communication and collaboration was great on our team. And I keep in touch with them. So if you keep in touch with your boss and people that you used to work for, that's a good sign that it was a healthy workplace. If you run for the hills and you never want to see or speak to them again, it likely was toxic. Also ask about the workloads and the stress level. So what are workloads like in general there? And how stressed out are people? Are people burnt out? Asking those questions can go a long way. And if you hear the answer is yes, it is a demanding place and people are exhausted and burnt out, that's somewhere that you don't want to be. That doesn't mean you don't want to be in a challenging, invigorating, busy workplace. And of course, there'll be periods where you're going to be working hard, but is it a constant strain? Is it under-resourced and people are expected to be on call 24/7, which is a recipe for burnout? Also, you can ask about the levels of trust. Do people trust each other there? And is there flexibility? Are people trusted to have flexibility? Or is it the type of culture where you must be seen every single day at the same desk, and it's a culture of more command and control? We need to see our people all the time. Or is there some flexibility? I trust you as long as you're getting your work done, and there'll be flexibility to manage your work and your life as long as you get your work done. So those are two very different type of workplace cultures. And again, the people who have left and the people who are still there will give you answers. Sometimes they won't give you that much, but it's, again, patterns that you're hearing. So if multiple people are saying the same sort of thing, then it's much more likely that it's occurring. And of course, sometimes you'll talk to a disgruntled person who left and is disgruntled. And I mean, you gotta, again, look at your source and look at, is this pattern or this message repeating itself, or is it just a one-off where the person is clearly disgruntled? And I mean, I've had people leave me over the years that probably would have been disgruntled, and I've had a lot leave who still keep in touch with me. And I'd say most people that I've worked with, I've had a pleasant and peaceful ending and transition, and it's a joy to keep in touch with them, because people come, people go, but it's all how you treat them, you mentor them, and you help them grow. So I also wanted to say, in the interview process, it's important to be feeling how they make you feel, being aware of how this potential boss makes you feel. So in the interview, do you feel like they're truly listening to you? Like they're genuinely curious? Or are they interrupting and talking most of the time? So if a boss talks most of the time in an interview, that is a bad sign. They should be listening and gleaning as much information as they can about you. But you'll see the egomaniac, the narcissist type of bosses talking most of the time about themselves and about how great this opportunity is and how great this workplace is. And they built this from nothing, or their revenues are the highest in the company. Whatever it may be, they are bragging about themselves. They don't have humility. So I always like to look for, are they humble? Are they talking about the great things, but also being realistic? You know, there's great things about this, but there's also some challenges that we're facing, and here's how we're facing them, and here's how I support my team as we face those challenges with clients, with customers, with patients, with the economy. Here's how we work together to address those. So it's not all rainbows and unicorns. There's the good and the bad aspects of the workplace. So are they balanced in that viewpoint and perspective? So those are some things, again, to look out for. So asking questions of people, making sure you're aware in the interview process how this potential boss makes you feel. And the other thing is you are increasing the odds of it being a good fit, but it's never 100%. I've used all kinds of careful processes in our hiring, and every now and again, we'll get someone who isn't the right fit, despite going through assessments, interviews, reference checks, intuition, data, and it's just the game of it. People are good at presenting a certain front, and the best test is to see them in action. So we're narrowing the margin of error, and I think and I believe and I know you can narrow that window. Most of the time, you can make a good decision. But I want to say, if they slip through the cracks and you have an especially talented, manipulative boss, and you've joined, and within 3 months, you are seeing the signs, I can guarantee you, if it's a toxic boss, within 3 months or so, the honeymoon's over and you're seeing the signs. And even if it's after 3 months, think about this trial period. So the first 6 months, I like a trial period of about 6 months. Because sometimes you need that to truly know what's going on. And in that trial period, if you start to see the behaviors coming out, the manipulation, the dishonesty, the harassment, the micromanagement, extreme control variable, if you can see them having favorites and managing their superiors and taking credit for your work and having a massive ego, all of those things are signs that you may have made the wrong decision. I mean, it sounds like you did make the wrong decision, and it's okay to pull yourself away, even though you are probably a committed person, loyal, a high achiever. I don't give up what I start. That goes against my values. But the problem is, if it's a toxic leader, it's going to harm your mental and physical health over time. And in fact, the latest data show across 15 countries, toxic workplace behavior is the best predictor of burnout symptoms. And those experiencing this are 8 times more likely to burn out. And burnout is a psychological phenomenon where you are physically exhausted, but psychologically you are cynical and you have lost your belief in yourself and your confidence. And when you are burnt out, it's very, very difficult to move on and to look for another job until you address the burnout. So if you can get out of there sooner rather than later in that first 6 months and say, you know what? Having been here for 5 months, I really don't think it's a fit for me. I wish you all the best. That sort of ending will hold you in much better stead for your next opportunity. And you may have to start looking for a job before you quit. That may be the situation that you're in. But rest assured, not every boss is toxic, and there are better opportunities out there. And you shouldn't have to suffer, because the physical and mental repercussions of a toxic boss are frankly brutal. And I always say you should run, not walk. And most of my research participants say, I wish I had left sooner. And if I could give advice to you, other people going through this, I wish I had left sooner. So with that said, I hope that you found this content valuable. I am excited to be writing a book on this topic, and this will be a whole chapter in my book. So I just touched the surface here on how to spot the signs in your next boss. So if you like my content, please review and rate it so I can keep growing and doing this and reaching more people in the world. It means so much to me to hear from you, to have you share my episodes, and I hope, most importantly, that you stay well. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Where Work Meets Life. If you found this content valuable, please rate and review the episode and share with others who may benefit. Visit me on my website at drlaura.live and sign up for my monthly e-newsletter full of tips and resources. I'm also a passionate keynote speaker and would be delighted to speak with you on your speaking needs. Stay well.